If you've ever looked at other people's relationships and wished you had what they had, this episode is for you. This week, we're talking about how you can improve every relationship you have without the other person changing one bit. Welcome to How to Be a Dangerous Woman, a place where we dive deep into breaking down into what makes amazing women just like you think, feel, and perform at levels beyond what you thought was possible. This is a place where women learn what it truly feels like to have it all without guilt, without imposter syndrome, and without overwhelm getting in the way. I'm Dr. Crystal Connor, and together we're going to explore the health, mindsets, and strategies that distinguish the world's top performing women. And you're going to walk away with the exact tools that you need to build and create a life on your own terms. Hi there, my friends. This week I want to talk about relationships. Whether it be romantic, family, friend, or work related, relationships are a huge part of our lives. Many times, our relationships dictate how we view our lives. If our relationships are going well, we believe life is good. If they aren't going well, we think that life isn't so great. We base so much of how we feel on our relationships, which in turn means that we base how we feel on other people, their behavior, their feelings. This is how a lot of our relationships work. If the other person in the relationship is angry, we feel angry or another negative emotion. If they are happy, we feel happy. If they're loving, we feel love towards them. And here's a big one. If the other person is doing what we think they should be doing, we feel happy. We feel like the relationship is a great one because we're getting what we think we need, oftentimes with very little consideration to how the other person is feeling. But today I want to free you from the emotional roller coaster that relationships can put you on. I want you to be able to create the relationships that you really love without the other person needing to change. There is so much freedom in that. So, first, let's talk about what a relationship really is. We often attribute our feelings to something the other person is doing. I love you if you love me and if you treat me in a certain way. I respect you if you respect me and you treat me in a certain way. We look at our feelings as reciprocal to the other person's feelings and behavior. But remember, it is always your thoughts that create your feelings. The truth is, relationships and the feelings you have about them are because of your thoughts about the other person and their thoughts about you. Relationships are your thoughts about that person and their thoughts about you. Think about someone that you truly love. You feel love towards them because you have loving thoughts about them. And in the same manner, think about someone you don't really care for. You don't care for that person because of the thoughts you have about them. Now, if you're feeling a little skeptical about this, I want you to try this out. I want you to practice thinking loving thoughts about someone you are in a relationship with all day long, regardless of any specific actions that they take or they don't take. Just continue to practice thinking thoughts about them that create feelings of love. What you're going to notice is that suddenly your relationship has seemingly improved. The other person didn't do anything specifically different, at least not yet. They are just going on about being who they have always been. The only thing that has changed is your thoughts about them. And when you change your thoughts about them, you create feelings of love. When you think loving thoughts about that person, you create feelings of love. And when you create feelings of love, your actions are going to be actions that line up with those feelings. You will take action from love. The result is a relationship that seemingly transformed itself overnight. The beauty of this is that the more that you practice thinking these thoughts on purpose, the more you act and behave in a loving manner. And the more that you do that, the more the other person will begin to shift their behavior. I find this particularly true in romantic relationships. And you might be guilty of this. I know I am. You nag, you get irritated, you're annoyed, you complain about a behavior your partner keeps displaying. It annoys you to no end, and you don't hide it. No matter how much you complain about it, no matter how much you nag about it, they just don't change the behavior. Part of the issue is that you think you need them to change the behavior in order for you to be happy. You think that because you are attributing your feelings to their actions and not your thoughts. That is the reason that you think that. You are giving the other person all of the power, when the reality is that your feelings are coming from your thoughts about their behavior. So then you start to feel discouraged. You start to think that you are never going to be happy because they're never going to change. The first thing that you need to do is to take your thoughts captive. Understand what it is you are thinking that is driving your feelings and take ownership of that. Decide if those thoughts are serving you. Are they true? Are there instances where they aren't true? Is the behavior something that is a deal breaker for you? And that's important because I don't want you to think I'm suggesting you sit around and make yourself happy in situations that are not the right one for you. That is not what I'm saying here. This work is not intended to help you stay in situations where it is not right for you. But doing this work, regardless, will help you make a solid decision on whether or not you stay in the relationship or you don't stay in the relationship. Getting to the place where you don't need the other person to do or be any way in order for you to feel happy is so important. Getting to happy within yourself, regardless of what they are doing, and then making a decision about how to proceed. Because if you don't do that beforehand, you're going to find yourself in another relationship with the same struggles because your mindset has not changed. You just switched partners. You will still be looking to the other person to create your feelings. If the behavior isn't a deal breaker for you, then you got to manage your thoughts around it. That does not mean that you have to love the fact that your husband is constantly on his cell phone and not engaged when you talk to him. That does not mean that you have to love the fact that your mother is constantly complaining to you about your siblings. What it means is that you manage how you're thinking about all of that. You make decisions from a managed mind. This is where setting healthy boundaries comes in. You can set a boundary because you are no longer trying to dictate or control their behavior in order to feel any certain way. You're not depending on them to make you feel anything. You're setting boundaries to manage your own thoughts and your own behaviors. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about a relationship that you really want to improve, one that you care about, one that you wish were better. I want you to write down all of the thoughts you have about that other person. Now, be honest here. Don't try and sugarcoat it. You don't have to show it to them. You don't even have to put a name. Just write down the thoughts because it's important that you understand that those thoughts are the driver for how you feel about the other person. Now, for extra credit, this is a fun exercise, and I say that in all sarcasm. I want you to look at all of the judgments you have about that person and see where you are doing the same thing. It may be in a different style, it may not look the same, it may look a little different, but often when we are judging someone for something, it's a familiar behavior. It's something that we are also guilty of. Look at the thoughts and decide which ones you're going to keep and which ones you don't want to think. Which ones are serving you in the relationship and which ones aren't. Remembering some minor incident from 20 years ago may not be the best for your relationship if you intend on improving it. Now, if you don't, keep on thinking it, keep on holding on to it. But if you do, I want you to create a set of new thoughts that you believe right now to be true about this person. Now, your job is to practice thinking your new thoughts and the ones you're going to keep as much as possible on purpose. Don't ignore thoughts that come up. Just filter them through your new lens of this person. If you believe that your partner is considerate and loving, and you think that on purpose, you are less likely to take offense when they act in a manner that doesn't line up with who you know them to be. You can address it, you can talk about it with them without holding on to it for the next 20 years. You can communicate about it and improve the communication because you're not going to be coming from this place of offense. Once you've practiced this for some time, you will start to notice, especially in healthy relationships and relationships where the other person also wants to improve, you're going to start to notice that the other person will shift their behavior without you ever saying a word. I have seen this over and over and over again with mothers and daughters, husbands and wives, employers and employees. Once you establish who you are, no matter what the other person is doing, they begin to adjust their own behavior, ultimately improving the relationship even more. Or it's going to make it really clear that new boundaries need to be set. I want you to start with one relationship and begin to work your way through all of the relationships that matter most in your life. This is how you improve your overall life experience. You make a decision about who you are. Who are you going to be in every relationship you have? And then you work to be that no matter what the other person is doing or who they are being. You stay solid on that. All right, my friends, that's it for this week. Listen, I would really, really love for you to share this with your friends. We don't gatekeep around here and we don't leave anyone behind. We are dangerous women because we do this work. And while it may sometimes start to feel like you're the only one and you're always the one who is doing this work, I don't want you to get discouraged. You are doing this work for you. And if you want peace and happiness that you've been looking for, you'll do this work all day long. I am so proud of you and the work you're doing. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you next Monday. Have a wonderful week. God bless you. If you found today's episode helpful, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and subscribe to this channel so you never miss an episode. And I'd really love to hear how you're doing. You can find me at Dr. Crystal Connor on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. I can't wait to hear what progress you've made. So until next week, see ya.